There's a wonderful illustration of this in the poetry of Francis Thompson. Francis Thompson was one of the greatest British poets that ever lived. The one poem that stands out above them all was written in a stupor when he was under a bridge in London. He had lost everything. He grew up in a very wealthy home. He was trained in the best schools. He became a medical doctor but never practiced medicine. He thought he was a writer, and so he started writing, but he could never get published. He ended up on the streets selling matches and newspapers. And then he got himself into drugs, probably first of all alcohol, then he went to opium. He was an opium addict, laying under a bridge, having lost most of his life, all of his inheritance, everything was gone. And he writes concerning this in a poem called The Hound of Heaven. And I love that expression, the Hound of Heaven. I first heard it by my prayer partner, an 86-year-old man who was praying for his children that are still lost and praying that the Hound of Heaven would track them down and chase them down and bring them to Christ. Listen to just a portion of that poem, and you can get it on my website. It's a video, and it will help you to understand this. I fled him down the nights and days. I fled him down the arches of the years. I fled him down the labyrinthine ways of my mind, and in the midst of fears. I hid from him, and under running laughter, up visted hopes I sped, and shot precipitated down titanic glooms of chasmed fear. From those strong feet that followed after, but with unhurried chase, and unperturbed pace, deliberate speed, majestic instancy, they beat, and a voice beat, more instant than defeat. All things betray thee who betrayest me. Still with unhurried chase, and unperturbed pace, deliberate speed, majestic instancy, came the following feet, and a voice above their beat. Naught shelters thee who will not shelter me. With unperturbed pace, deliberate speed, majestic instancy, and past those noised feet, a voice comes yet more fleet. Lo, naught contents thee, who contentest not with me. Naked I wait thy love uplifted stroke. My harness piece by piece thou hast hewn from me, and smitten me to my knees. I stand amidst the dust of mounded years. My mangled youth lies dead beneath the heap. My days have crackled and gone up in smoke. Then the Master answers, the Hound of Heaven answers. All which I took from thee I did take, not for thy harms, but just that thou might seek it in my arms. All which thy child's mistake, fancies as lost, I have stored for thee at home. Rise, clasp my hand, and come. And he finishes with this. I am he whom thou seekest. Thou dravest love from thee, who date. He finishes with this. I am he whom thou seekest. Thou dravest love from thee, who dravest me. Francis Thompson was on the streets. He had penned this poem, 182 lines, on a scrap piece of paper, and had made his way to a publisher's house and dropped it off with the man and woman who were the owners of that publishing company. They loved the poem, and they sought him out and found him under a bridge, comatose from his overdose of drugs. They took him to a rehab place and put him under the care of medical professionals. Unfortunately, within 2 days, Francis died. He had terminal tuberculosis as well as his addiction. But his testimony remains. God hunted me, he chased me down, he brought me to the end of himself until I called upon him. That is repentance. God brings us to the end of ourselves, so we look to him to be saved.